what's up you guys, this is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the hit list, we're about to get real dirty when we take a look at my top 5 favorite status weapons. Okay, so I think there is a big misconception about my relationship with status. As with most things, I like status when it's done well, and hate it when it's horseshoed in somewhere it doesn't belong. More often than not, status acts only as a bonus to weapons that are already quite powerful without it. For example, while the Dread Slash procs are insane and the Lanka's gas procs can be devastating to unarmored factions, those are merely bonuses tied to 2 highly effective crit weapons. So the biggest issue before we begin is defining what a status weapon is and what makes it a good status weapon. Trust me, this was not easy for me whatsoever, as simply having a high status chance doesn't necessarily dictate being an effective status weapon. For example, if you look at the Daikyu, while it does have an extremely high status chance, its core mechanics incentivize modding for base damage and high accuracy for headshots, as opposed to proccing effects in order to deal your damage. At its core, a good status weapon relies heavily on applying various effects in order to make it effective, or is elevated to the point where using anything other than status on it would reduce its potency. Now, from my personal experience, these weapons tend to achieve it through 4 main characteristics: a solid status chance, a fast fire rate or high projectile count, some form of control over what statuses they're applying, and the ability to hit multiple targets at once. In addition, status weapons are not dependent on one specific damage type like slashing or gas. They're able to tailor themselves to specific enemy factions by altering what statuses they apply. Now, I know that was a lot to digest, so let's get down to business. Okay, so at number 5 comes what I feel is the epitome of a good status weapon. Now, to be honest with you, while the Ignis isn't as potent damage-wise as some of the other weapons I've selected, it quickly and effectively spreads status faster than anything else I'm gonna feature. While I do feel like its status per second is a bit on the low side, it easily fills out the rest of the categories, with its elemental-based damage, fairly decent fire rate, and the insane range on its conal AoE, which can be pushed even further through the use of heavy caliber and firestorm. It is one on a very short list of weapons that truly falls into the crowd control or support category, and pairs quite well with damage-based warframes that need their enemies softened up a little bit before they can unleash the real punishment. Now at number 4, we've got the Stiletto Prime. While I personally don't mod this out completely as a status weapon, it definitely has the capability of inflicting whatever status effect you like via the addition of a couple elemental status mods. But to be honest, it's so powerful that you may not even need to do that. Now, while it lacks 2 of the 4 qualities previously mentioned, it has doubled down on its application rate. With an automatic trigger type, fast fire rate, triple shot due to access to secondary mods, and a quick reload, the Stiletto does a fantastic job of applying status. With only the base mods in play, it has a 63% status chance, which can easily be bumped into the 80s and 90s if you so choose. In addition, its ease of use is undeniable with its substantial magazine size, high accuracy, and low recoil. Not only is it a great status weapon, it's a great all-around weapon. The next one up is going to raise some controversy, but at number 3 sits the Secure Electa. Now the reason I say it's controversial is because the Lacera is nowhere to be found on this list, so don't go looking for it. The reason this ended up as one of my picks is due to the fact that it fulfills all 4 of the categories. The whip stances have some of the highest range melee attacks, almost every single lash having a minimum of 12 meters, with some of their movesets not only being able to strike multiple targets at once, but also striking them repeatedly. In addition, its base damage is electric, meaning that you have a lot of control over what statuses you're applying, since at the most you'll be competing against one other elemental. And to drive the nail into the coffin, this thing is insanely fast, at a 1.94 attack speed with a maxed Prime Fury. Combined with body count and looping wounds, the sum of its parts allow you to spread its status to surrounding enemies quickly, constantly disabling and debuffing them. Now, if you absolutely feel the need to bend reality and somehow press your will upon my favorites list, feel free to pretend that I said Lacera instead of Secure Electa here. It's not true, and I don't agree with you, mainly because its moveset is a constant flux between short and long range attacks. But instead of making yourself look like an insane fanboy in the comments, let's just all pretend that I said what you wanted me to, okay? Moving along, at number 2, we've got the Pox. As gross and as floppy as it is, admittedly it is extremely effective as a status weapon. While I personally don't rely on my weapons to do armor stripping for me, it works quite quickly, which shouldn't be much of a surprise as it to some degree fulfills all 4 categories. Being a secondary weapon, it has access to triple shot, allowing it to create multiple clouds at once that last for about 9 seconds, with each of those clouds being capable of proccing a status every single second to any enemy caught within it. Toss in a crowd control status and they'll be sitting in the AoE for several ticks. This combines particularly particularly well with the fact that with only its base mods, it's got a status chance of 70%, whilst tossing on one elemental status mod puts it at 90. In addition, it's got a base of toxin damage, allowing you to not only apply status quickly and repeatedly, but also gives you a ton of control over what effects you're triggering. Alrighty, last but not least, I am sure this is a surprise to no one. At number 1, we've got the Ignis Prime. Now, as you all most likely know, this requires full commitment as it does not work with anything less than 100% status chance. While it does have the traditional IPS spread, it has so much slashing and so little of everything else, you basically get a spread of 2 elemental combos of your choice and slashing. Now, to put that into perspective, the Ignis Prime has 8 pellets before multi-shot, and with 100% status chance, on average you'll be applying 17 effects per click when you factor in multi-shot. So that covers about 3 of the aspects right there. The only thing it really lacks in is the ability to apply to multiple targets at once. However, if you line them up just right, punch through and or its slight spread should help with that. Now, I am aware that there are a couple other shotguns out there that can also be pushed to 100% status chance. However, the reason why the Ignis Prime is so much more effective honestly comes down to its damage spread. The bore prime and stun rates are far more balanced and make it much more difficult to nail down specific effects. However, admittedly, they are quite good, and if you like the feel of the Ignis Prime, you should definitely check those two out as well. Okay, now if you haven't already left your hate comment because I didn't include a particular weapon, keep in mind that I classify certain weapons as base damage or crit weapons that enjoy bonuses from status but are not driven solely by it or are elevated by it to a level of no. So be cognizant of that fact before you fly off the handle. With that said, these are the status weapons that I'm quite fond of. However, feel free to leave your list in the comments below and we can do a little friendly compare and contrast. Because when it comes to status, the least you can do is have a good time while you're passing it on. So thank you all for watching another episode of The Hit List. If you like these countdown type of videos, I'll leave you a link to the playlist that contains my favorites of 2015. And also don't forget that our first ever merch campaign is only available for a limited time, so be sure to check that out before it goes bye-bye. Now, don't forget to do all the things that I asked you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, wear protection, because the real life status is bad, and that whole having fun sharing them joke wasn't in the greatest of taste, so stay protected, because it is a dirty, dirty world out there. Especially here at A Gay Guy Plays. Quick side note though, how fucking fun is the static ore? Holy shit! I completely forgot this thing existed.